There's this boy I sent to the electric chair at Huntsville here a while back. My arrest and my testimony. He killed a 14-year-old girl. Papers said it was a crime of passion, but he told me there wasn't any passion to it. Told me that he'd been planning to kill somebody for about as long as he could remember. Said if they turned him out, he'd do it again. Said he knew he was going to hell. Be there in about 15 minutes. I don't know what to make of that.
Okay, boomers.
Oh my god.
Nice.
We are back with yet another movie podcast, movie squawk, if you will. This one is about No Country for Old Men.
AKA boomers.
And I am joined today with the usual assholes, Gigi,
Hey.
Hannah, and Kyle.
Hi.
About asshole, but
Yes.
Okay, so I was actually not ready.
wow.
Wow. The level
This
of
guy.
unprofessionalism.
Okay, this movie came out November 9th, 2007, directed by the Coen brothers. This is actually my second Coen brother movie pick.
Ooh, you want a cookie?
You've only had two
I-
movies, Trevor.
Yeah, both of them Coen brothers.
Huh.
Two brothers.
Go figure.
Two
What's
brothers.
the next one?
This movie ran for 2 hours and 2 minutes. It stars Javier Bardem as Anton Chigurh, Josh Brolin as Llewellyn Moss, Tommy Lee Jones as Sheriff Ed Tom Bell,
Uh-huh.
and Kelly MacDonald as Carla Jean Moss. The little quick synopsis. In rural Texas, welder and hunter Llewellyn Moss discovers the remains of several drug runners who have all killed each other in exchange, gone violently wrong. Rather than report the discovery to the police, Moss decides to simply take the $2 million present for himself. This puts the psychopathic killer, Anton Chigurh, on his trail as he dispassionately murders nearly every rival, bystander, and even employer in his pursuit of his quarry and the money. As Moss desperately attempts to keep one step ahead, the blood from his hunt begins to flow behind him with relentlessly growing intensity as Chigurh closes in. Meanwhile, the laconic Sheriff Ed Tom Bell blithely oversees the investigation even as he struggles to face the sheer enormity of the crimes he is attempting to thwart. Okay, so, unfortunately, we didn't all get to watch it together. Kyle decided to duck out.
That's not true, but okay.
His internet decided for him. He wasn't meant to be.
Yeah.
But let's start. There will be 7 questions total, 7 main questions, as well as the typical 3 following.
That's
Typical.
10.
Typical. Number 1. Sheriff Ed Tom Bell represents life while Anton Chigurh represents death. What does Moss represent?
I put time. I don't know. Yeah, like, so they all seem to have like a, I don't know. I mean, the sheriff was like, I need to go and stop this guy, right? Or find the guy Moss and the money. And then Anton was death. And like Moss was always moving. He was the one that kind of triggered everyone else's action.
Yeah.
So like I don't know how that fits with life and death, but I kind of went with like the flow of time to show that it's passing. Because I figured life and death were like the start of things and the end of things. So
I can
put
see that.
the timeline kind of thing.
That's pretty good.
I don't know what we were going for, so that's what I wrote.
Yeah. Don't worry, I had a tough time with that question too.
Did everyone else write down time?
Yeah, let's move on.
That was it.
Okay. I disagree that Ed Tom Bell represents life. I think Lulin Moss represents life, and Anton represents death. Mostly because Moss is, constantly running away from death, which is kind of, you know, what life is in general. It's the opposite of death. And they're pretty good foils to one another throughout the movie, which is why they're constantly, butting heads. But I think Bell, to me, instead of representing life, he represents humanity. Because, and I'll get into this a little bit more as we keep talking about it, but I don't think Anton and Moss are actually characters in the movie more than they are forces that are within the world of the movie, such as death, life, risk, all that. And I think
So,
that Bell is right in the middle of it as humanity because he's the one who has to adapt to whatever's happening in the world.
so would you think that they're more personas instead of people?
Yeah, like characterizations rather than
Okay.
characters.
Well, how to follow that? I feel like every time we do one of these podcasts, Hannah's always the one that's opening my eyes, and I'm like, wait, oh yeah.
But like,
Yeah, I
yeah.
literally have
But
to
like,
stand
what
there
movie
and
did I
like peel
watch?
my eyes open and be like,
I
"Dude,
know. Did we
watch."
watch the same movie?
I think I watched No Men for New Country.
Old
Wait,
country.
yeah. No, so I I went along with the question. I think it was hard for me to come up with like an actual like word that he represented. So I kind of just wrote down some thoughts. I said life and death, and then I was like, or maybe the consequences of your actions. And then let's see. I think he represents the line that separates life and death. Um, because I definitely don't see him as a role model, but I also don't think he was a killer, at least not by choice. Because he did say he was in Vietnam, so I'm assuming he did probably kill people in his life. But I think in the movie, I don't think he killed anyone, if I'm not mistaken.
No, I don't think he did.
I don't think he
Um,
No,
did.
no, at the very end. There were, I think, at least two cartel dealers dead, one crawling away in that little hotel room.
oh yeah, okay, all right. So he did kill, but not on screen. But anyway, so but also I don't think he was he was never trying to save any lives. I think he was out for himself the whole movie. But I do think there's a part of him that wanted to be a good person and do the right thing. But I also feel like there was this overshadowing amount of greed and like his selfishness that really was like his ultimate demise. Um, so I can't think of like a distinct word that represents him, but I think it fits the line along the lines of like the majority of what other people would do in his shoes. Because I think there are a limited amount of people who are willing to be someone like Sheriff Bell, just because he's a sheriff, and I don't think that's really like a common line of work. Like there's someone that'll do the job, but not a lot of people want to do that kind of job.
Yeah.
Um, and then on the other side, there's excuse me.
You're right there.
Yeah, yeah.
You
It's
know,
it's the Taco Bell coming back to haunt me. But anyway,
oh boy.
what's how do you say his name? Shiger,
Sugar, yes.
Shiger.
Sugar.
There's a very limited amount of people that are like Shiger because he's you know a sociopath. But to me, I just feel like Llewellyn represents the majority of how people would act if they were in his shoes. Um, he sees something he wants, he takes it without looking back, but later regrets it, tries to fix it, but ends up getting into a lot more trouble than he ever anticipated. And then I guess this is just based off of experience, but he uses his wits to try and get out of the mess he put himself into. But yeah, I guess the best way I could say it is I just feel like he represents the line that's in the middle that kind of separates life and death. Because I feel like he's, I don't know, kind of like a medium, like a middle ground. Because you want to root for him, but at the same time, you feel like he is kind of like a not so great dude. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I got out of his character.
Yeah, I actually have pretty much the same answer as Kyle.
Hey.
Um, a mixture of the both. He wanted to live. He definitely wanted to live, because otherwise, why would you take $2 million? How are you going to spend money if you're dead, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Um, and at one point, he was even pretty sure he was going to live in the second half, but he also wasn't opposed to killing someone for that money that didn't belong to him.
Right.
And on his phone call with Shigur near the end, he flips it around. He's trying to become the hunter,
Hmm.
where I that's where I think he also represented death a little bit. Like it
Mm.
was no longer, oh, I'm just going to try to like outrun you, protect myself and my wife. It was, I'm coming for you.
Yeah.
Um, so that's my answer. I thought he was both. At first he was just trying to um, as I said in the synopsis, he made just that dumb mistake of taking the $2 million, and then he tried to do everything he could to live because he wanted that money for himself and his wife. And then it became about killing this one person who's on his back so that they can live peacefully.
Yeah.
But
Mhm.
there was that mistake. Whoa, cat! There's the mistake on the mom's part, the mother-in-law,
Yeah.
and that led to his downfall.
Yeah.
Okay, so moving on to question number two. Anton Chigurh is claimed to be one of the most accurate portrayals of a sociopath. Do you agree with that? Why or why not?
Okay. Start with a disclaimer. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a
You're
professional.
not?
She's basically WebMD.
And I got most of the information from the internet. So I think he could be a mixture of both a psychopath and a sociopath, but more towards the sociopath. I have examples. So in like describing a sociopath, the lack of remorse or shame, he didn't really, not sociopath, psychopath. He didn't really show much, I think, remorse in after killing people. Um, and they both share manipulation. I think that's how you say it. They manipulate people into like doing things that they want. Um, and for the side of like the sociopath, often blames others and has excuses for their behavior. Like his reason for having to kill Carol Jean was because he told her husband that's what he was going to do. So he's trying to put the guilt on her dead husband instead of like on himself.
Mhm.
But for sociopath, it was said that they tend to lie and deceive people, and I feel like he wasn't a liar. I feel like he was straightforward with what his intents were.
Yeah.
Um, and then yeah, that's why I kind of think he is a combination of both. Um, and also with a psychopath, it said that they lack self control, which I think he tend to have a little self control, especially when it came to like the coin flip with people's deaths. Like he kind of let that guide him in the sense of letting him like if he was gonna kill that person or not. So I agree and disagree. I think he's just kind of like a really crazy person. So yeah, and that's my report.
A plus. So I also did some research about this because I wanted to make sure I had like the right definition of sociopath, and
Yeah.
when I was looking it up, it defined it as someone who manifests a personality disorder with an antisocial attitude and a lack of conscience,
Mm-hmm.
which I agree he fits that pretty well. Um, I think when he is having conversations with people, they are still very antisocial. Like everything he says puts people off and
Ew.
makes their attitude towards him very like, you're kind of strange, dude. I don't
Yeah.
know if we should be having this conversation.
Yeah.
um, and his behaviors along with that, like, I thought it was interesting that he was always cleaning his shoes or keeping his shoes clean,
Mm-hmm.
um, which kind of goes with the lack of conscience thing. Like, he doesn't want any evidence, obviously, that it was him there, that he, even to himself, like, that he killed people. So he was always either putting up his shoes or, putting them somewhere else so that he didn't have to deal with that. But I think the coin is the biggest evidence of his lack of conscience because every body that he racks up on his count is left to chance,
Mm.
and chance is unpredictable and uncertain. So it's kind of a way for him to absolve himself of any moral responsibility towards it.
Hmm.
um, but yeah, he definitely fits both of those definitions of sociopath. So I think I would agree he's a pretty good representation of that.
Yeah, kind of along the same lines as what Gigi and Hannah were saying. I honestly, when I first read the question, my mind was reading psychopath instead of sociopath. So I was like, as I was answering the question, I'm like, oh yes, he's definitely a psychopath. And then I looked back at the question again. I'm like, oh, sociopath. Then I went back and looked up the definition, and I'm like, well, I mean, I feel like he is both because there is this like I don't know. There's this disconnect with him and other people. Like he definitely puts people off, and I think he's aware of that, and I think he uses that to sort of manipulate people into
Mm.
either fear or just getting what he wants. Um, and I mean, I think he's one of those guys that if he's just in like you see him from a distance and he's just staring at you, like that's gonna scare me. Like he's that
Right.
intimidating. And I mean, I don't really know like how tall or big he actually is, but he looked like a pretty big dude. Um,
Yeah.
and I mean, I just feel like he didn't really have any emotion at all. And the only exception is when he's actually in the moment killing people. I think at the beginning of the movie when he kills that officer in the station, um, I mean, his face is super intense, and I can't really describe based on his face like what he's feeling in that moment, but he looks like he's almost like it's some kind of urge, and then as soon as that officer's dead, he lets out this huge sigh of like almost relief.
Yeah.
Um, and it's like this need that's been penting up inside of him, and like once he kills that person, then it's like everything's right in his world. So
Yeah.
I think he's just one of those guys that really gets off on killing, and that's all I have to say about it. I think he is both a sociopath and a psychopath, and any other word to describe him as crazy. Um, so yeah.
Okay. So from when I was in college, one of the quick differences they taught us was that a psychopath doesn't know what they're doing is wrong. Like
Oh.
obviously what they're doing is wrong, but like they don't really comprehend that
Mm-hmm.
for whatever reason. Whereas a sociopath does know what they're doing is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So think Anton versus like Norman Bates from Psycho,
Uh-huh.
where Norman Bates was obviously killing people, but he was being taken over by like his mother's personality. He
Uh-huh.
was his mom during those moments.
Hmm.
So Anton was Anton the whole time.
Yeah.
He had no regard for human life, to the point where I think Hannah brought it up. He was telling people, call it. He was leaving their fate up to a coin toss. He was trying to remove himself from that decision,
Yeah.
but Carla Jean called him out on it, saying, there is no coin, it's just you.
Yeah.
But I think for Anton, he's like, what do you mean? There is a coin. There's this coin right here. Call it.
Right.
So it wasn't his fault he had to kill someone. It was the
Right.
coin's fault.
It's pushing the blame on
Yeah.
someone else.
Um. Yeah.
The
There
coin.
was definitely
Oh,
no sympathy and especially no empathy in what he was doing at all. Like Kyle brought up, there was a sort of like satisfaction when he killed that cop when he was in that jail. Like, okay, I'm free now. Let's just get the show on the road,
Get mad.
type of thing. Like,
Come
there
on,
was
big
definitely
boy.
no remorse for what he was doing. It was just it's part of the job. That's what he does.
Yeah.
So I think he was definitely a very good portrayal of a sociopath.
It's the 9 to 5 grind.
Oh
Yeah.
God.
well, if he is a
Just
representation of death, that is the 9 to 5 grind for.
That is
Yeah.
true. That is true.
oh
I was gonna
boy, here I go
say,
killing again.
yeah. I was gonna say about the coin. It's interesting with the coin, because I think one of the movie's main themes is risk and the importance of taking risks.
Mhm.
Um, because I noticed that every person who did not engage in his game of chance ensured their fate, which was instant death. But everybody
Yeah.
who did play along with him uh, lived to see another day, or like escaped for one more day,
Hmm.
at least in
Wait,
his world.
follow up to that. This isn't one of the main questions, but honestly, I think it should have been. If Carla had called it, like let's say it came up heads and she said heads, do you think he would have spared her?
Yes, because it's chance, and
Yeah.
because he believes in chance so much and how unpredictable chance is. There's always the possibility that it could have turned up that she lived, or that she called it.
Yeah.
So I don't think he would feel like a responsibility to um, like kill her necessarily as much as he was responsible for, at least partaking in the game.
So I have a question though. Like, um, when he escaped the jail,
Yeah,
he takes the sheriff's. Does he take the sheriff's car? Yeah, and he pulls over this guy, right?
yeah, he pulls
I
over the
don't
guy.
remember a coin being involved in that guy's
No,
death.
he just said, look into this.
Yeah, so why do you think like
He
he
just
let
needed a car. That's it.
Yeah,
I
I
know,
think it
but
was
like
just a
everyone else
need.
seemed to have like the an equal chance.
No, this guy had something he needed. He was going to take it no matter what the outcome.
Okay, homie went to the store and got clothes, didn't kill the clerk. Clerk had what he needed.
Maybe he just felt like killing in that moment.
I
Yeah,
don't know. It bugged me though, because I was like, everyone seemed to have a chance, but that guy, that wasn't like fair, in my opinion. If that's what he was going to go with the coin, unless he
That's
did the
true.
coin in the car before he got to it. But it seems like he wants you to guess what the coin is.
but remember, he's a sociopath.
Right, but like
Like,
everybody
no,
else
he's
though.
trying to remove himself, sure, but like at the end of the day, he doesn't care.
Right. I
It
don't know,
means
it bugged
nothing to
me.
him.
So,
Yeah.
I don't think he would have spared her.
I
No.
Um,
don't think so
he
either.
did
Well,
say
I think so,
on the
maybe.
phone, like, or no, he said to her, like, I gave my word.
Hmm.
Like, I have to kill you now.
Yeah. that was going to be my point. Was like I don't think he was going to spare her because he gave his word, and then my example is because he didn't give the other guy a chance, just kill him.
Yeah, I was rooting for that guy the whole movie. And
Right?
killed
I
him
was
in the
like,
first 10 minutes.
God damn
But
it!
going back to your point, she didn't have anything he needed.
Right.
Right. He
So that's
just
So
gave his word. That's why I think, like the sociopaths, because they tend to lie. He seemed like he wanted everyone to know the truth. Not the truth, but like he didn't lie to get what he wanted.
true. But I
That's
think where I'm falling off of your other point about him killing, the guy because he needed the car and didn't give him a chance. Um, it doesn't make much sense for him to care about killing her.
but you're trying to rationalize something that has no rationality.
Well, right, but I'm saying like I said before, she didn't have anything that he needed. The guy had the car, which he needed.
right.
Right. But
So
then why was he there?
why do you think there's no chance of her living if she did not have something he needed unless there was a
Because he
need
was
for
there to
him to
kill her
fulfill his word?
regardless.
Yeah.
I think he was just trying to put on maybe a little show or something.
Okay.
It's sort of like Trevor said. He already had the money, so why did he go back to her? Why did he appear in her
Yeah.
bedroom? Like he didn't need to because she didn't have anything,
Yeah. And I think
right?
that kind of brings up something I didn't think about until now, but because of his decision to actually go after her at the end of the movie, he ends up getting in this terrible car wreck, and
Oh,
that could have
yeah.
been avoided if he had just not done
Let it
that.
go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, when you're driving, you don't like, yes, there's always a possibility you get into a car accident, but
Of
you don't
course.
really assume, oh, if I go over here, I'm gonna get hit.
Yeah. No.
Right.
I'm just
Or
saying,
because I
like, I
went
don't
over
know.
here.
Like, maybe that changed his mind. Maybe he's like, I will no longer kill.
Mm,
I do not
So
like car
instead of
accidents.
you could get
yeah,
into that, but I don't think that's it.
instead of Ed Tom Bell turning to God, it was Anton at the
Oh my
end.
god.
No, I think he lived because death can't be stopped.
The inedible.
Like
The
death is
ineditable?
just as
Yeah.
death is just as unpredictable as life. So
Yes.
Hmm.
that's
I agree with that
the
statement.
fact that death persists, even though death has the same chances as life. It I think he only lived because he is death.
Hmm.
He is death.
So
Yeah.
metal.
Heavy metal sound.
I could see him listening to heavy metal.
No, he's the kind of guy who, even on like 5 hour trips, he listens to nothing.
Oh, yeah.
Either
Yeah.
nothing or like classical music,
Yeah,
like
classical.
Mozart or
Yeah.
I
something,
was
so it's
gonna
like
say classical,
off-putting.
probably too exciting. I was thinking more like weird folk music, like mountain people music.
Mountain
Some
people music.
banjo diddly.
Yeah.
Like
Bam, bam, bam,
the
bam,
the listed instrument is goat.
Goat.
He just
Oh
listens to a
man.
CD that
That
has
mix.
a bunch of like animal sounds, like barn
Barn animal
animals.
sounds.
No, he
Uh,
listens to the guy from Kung Pao. He's like, cow go moo moo.
Yeah.
Oh,
okay,
or some
moving
creepy
on.
kids songs, like Wheels on the Bus, but like in a half tone lower, so it's a little creepy.
Depressing.
God. No, I
Sorry,
got
okay,
it.
I'm done.
He listens to just the record sound. Like right before the
Scratching.
record starts playing the music.
Scratch.
That weird. No, it's not the scratch. It's like
The little
this weird
fuzzy
silence.
sound.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Oh, the
just that
fuzz. Yeah, yeah,
non-stop fuzz. Okay, let's move on.
Okay, so number 3. Sugar kills who seems to be his employers. Do you think greed was his motive for the rest of the movie?
I put no. I put more or less because he said he was going to do this. He's gonna go do it. Like I think I keep saying, but I don't think he wants to be labeled as a liar, so he follows suit through everything that he says. So, yeah,
Yeah, I
that's
also
my answer.
said not necessarily. Um, necessarily only because, I noticed that he does seem to care for some material possessions, like his shoes. But it's not enough for me to justify that, like, his lust for money is to feed his desire for possessions or anything.
Hmm.
But I think Kyle already brought it up, but I don't think he was really after the money or anything. I think he was just killing to, scratch an itch.
Hmm.
Just because we know he's killed many people, and I think he just justifies his killing by sort of deeming himself a necessary evil. So by that, I think he just, if he believes that enough, he obviously absolves himself of any conscience or moral responsibility. So I think he just kills to kill.
Mm.
Yeah. I just said maybe, but I think his greed doesn't stem from the fact that there's money involved. I think it's more of a greed for killing.
Blood.
Yeah, or like an envy maybe. Um, I think the reason he really kills his employers, probably the same reason he killed anyone else in the film, because they either got in his way or they were or already were an inconvenience for him. And I think that's, yeah, I just think it's that like plain cut and dry. I think he just killed them just because he didn't want them to get in his way. And, you know, he can't watch people walk away, so he just kills them.
Yeah, I agree with Kyle. To me, I think he was just doing the job. He was hired to get this money back, and it wasn't a simple job. It was there's this guy who's also crafty and smart and knows how to shoot. So he realized there's a threat, and Carson Wells says he has principles that transcend money or drugs or anything like that. He said he's not like you. He's not even like me.
Right.
Here's this guy who he's for whatever reason, whether he's getting paid, I imagine he's getting paid to do that job, but
Mhm.
um, I think it was just a job to him. Like,
Yeah.
Hmm.
there's this guy who has money, and here's all the people that he needed to kill in order to get to that person. And I think the guy being Llewellyn, didn't play along, so he's like, okay, well, I'm gonna go after your wife. I know where she is, so hand over the money. And then
It's
he's,
kind of like a kid who's like not getting his way. Okay, well then I'll
yeah.
just make your life miserable.
I'm
Blah.
telling on you.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Prombopulous Anton.
yeah, I don't think it was greed at all. Number four, Sugar's weapon of choice is an air gun, a device used for stunning animals meant for slaughter. What do you think this says about him?
Yikes.
uh, I put that he doesn't like a mess. He wants something that's what's it called? Efficient, and it has more than one purpose. So I think he goes for that. And also just says he just wants the job done. So this is a 2-in-1 thing. I can unlock your door and kill you. So works for me.
I can also do your taxes. Okay. Well, I had two thoughts about that. First, was centered around when Bell was talking about the device and how he mentioned that it's a weapon that they use against, um, livestock and stuff because they never know what hit them. And I
Mhm.
think that line is important because it's kind of another nod to another theme of the movie. As much as I think the movie is about risk, I also think the movie is about life's uncertainty. And the never know what hit them kind of is interesting because it's, our preconceived notions about murder weapons, what we've been raised and taught about murder weapons doesn't necessarily straight lead us to air compressors.
Right.
So, because Anton represents death and death is unpredictable, his weapon of choice also must be unpredictable. And, I fully believe this because when I first saw him use it against the door, I was like, air compressors can do that?
Wait,
It was
what?
crazy. So,
Yeah.
the fact that he's using something that literally Belle says no one will know what hit them,
Right.
that kind of fits his character really well. And then the other thought I had was going back to the thought of it being used against livestock, because it kind of makes me think that maybe Anton thinks of himself again as a necessary evil, and that thought perhaps leads him to believe that he's above humanity, which death is above humanity. So it's kind of, putting him in this place of like deeming everyone else lesser to him, or essentially cattle or lambs to the slaughter. So that's
Heavy
exactly
metal
what he's all
stuff.
about. So yeah, I think that line about the livestock and never knowing what hit them is really important to understanding why he uses it.
Yeah, kind of along the same lines as Hannah. um, so what I wrote down is I just feel like um, he's a really like no nonsense, very cut and dry kind of person, and I feel like that weapon type is exactly the same because it is very like it's just a very quick way to kill someone, and it's just like bam, you're dead. You don't know what's coming. Um, like that guy, like he literally saw Anton holding it in his hand, and then he's like,
Right.
"Oh, what's that?" And then
Yeah.
Anton's just like, just stand still, and then and then boom, he's
Hold it.
dead. Yeah, but I don't know. To me, Anton, like he's the kind of person that will surprise you in different ways. Like he's probably the type of person that like if you got his order wrong at McDonald's, he'd probably kill you.
Yeah.
Um,
I said
Call
no
it.
pickles.
the way I see it, he sees himself as more superior than everyone else. He may not show it, but yeah, I think I like to think that he sees everyone else as animals, and he's sort of the guy doing the slaughtering, and he's just slaughtering all these animals, not for real any purpose, but only because he feels like he's maybe just he's death knocking on someone's door,
It's
or
not
he's just
heaven's door, that's for sure.
yeah, he's just cleaning up the trash, and everyone else is the
Fuck.
trash.
I'm the trash
um,
man.
but I think overall, like he likes things to be quick and clean, and I feel like the air gun for the most part is quick. Maybe not the cleanest because there is still blood involved, but it's definitely cleaner than a gun, and it's much quieter. And
Yeah, it was.
I just, I just think he feels like he's better than using a gun. If he doesn't like have to, he won't, and he'll find other ways. Because I think he's maybe trying to find like this like this need to like feel something. So he finds different ways to kill people to excite himself. I don't know. That's what I could get out of it if I was a psychopath. Like, oh,
Yes.
let's
Yes,
try. Let's try this weapon. See if this kills anyone. Like, I don't know.
Probably easier to sneak into places too, because it sort of looked like an oxygen tank. So
yeah,
maybe,
definitely.
somebody who would see it would be like, oh, he's on oxygen, like he's just, But
Yeah,
then, as soon as
he
they
can't breathe.
realize it's not attached to his face, it's too late.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was actually gonna bring that up. Um,
Oh, sorry.
well, I put I thought it made him crafty and smart and belittling. Belittling because people have like this notion that animals are beneath them. That's why we have so many animals that are raised for the sole purpose of being someone's food. That's why we have zoos. Like, hey, look at this monkey in this cage.
He's gonna be your
Um, yeah, that's what Anton is doing. He's taking care of something that's beneath him. Um, as you guys all, I think, pointed out. And then the crafty and smart part, there are no bullet casings to trace back to a gun.
Yeah, I put that too. I don't think I said it, but yeah, I put no evidence.
Yeah, no evidence. Because bullets do leave trace. Like you can look at a bullet and go, okay, this came from like a 9 millimeter. We can go to all the stores who purchased that, but Anton, being a professional, um, probably gets it from like a supplier where like they take off like the serial number. Um, I believe you can trace a gun back to its rifling just the inside of the barrel, how the bullet's coming out.
Well,
Yeah.
not in the 80s.
Well, I don't know what they did in the 80s.
I don't think they had that
It's only
technology yet.
a life for the
hits
last.
the ground, and we're like, yeah, bullet.
Yeah. And then, like Hannah was saying, if you see someone walking up to you and they had a gun, like guns really only have one purpose, and that's to kill something. But if you see someone walking up to you and it looks like they're holding an oxygen tank, you might let your guard down a little. And that's pretty smart. You go, okay, can I help you with something, or do you need help
Yeah.
with something?
Yeah.
It's a trap.
Yeah, it's a trap. And then he was able to easily get through locked doors with that. That's
Right.
like you can, I think, get away with that with maybe like a shotgun. You shoot out the hinges and the doorknob maybe or something, or the lock. But like this guy, he was able to do it pretty quietly with one shot.
Yeah.
So, um, yeah, crafty and smart and belittling.
Ah,
What a
yes.
what a bully.
What a man! Just kidding. Yeah.
What do you think happens to Sugar after the credits roll?
Like, ah! I put he probably got medical attention and went on with his life. I don't think anything. I think because it, what's his face?
Llewellyn Moss?
No,
Bell?
Woody Allen.
Oh, Carson Wells?
Yeah, he pretty much made it seem like this guy's been doing this for a while, and so I feel like he was just like, yep, this is just a little blimp in my life. Gonna keep going, and yeah, I don't think much else happened to him. Just what he do.
He decided to not be a sociopath anymore.
Yeah.
According to Kyle.
Killing
He,
is
put a
wrong
coin on it.
and bad.
This is not.
There should be a
not
word.
anymore.
Badong.
God.
What do I think he did after the credits? He pulled those credits right back down and said, "This isn't over yet." No, I think he honestly just picks up where he left off. I think again I mentioned it earlier, but I don't think of him as a character in the movie, but a force in the world. And since death is just as unpredictable as life, we saw that the rules of uncertainty affect him as well, but because death is a force and can't be controlled or stopped, he just persists.
Cute.
The end.
Just you do you, Anton. You do you.
Ain't no one else can stop you.
Yeah, I think he just goes on with his life. Probably recovers from the car crash. Um, I feel like he's the type of person based on what we saw in the movie where he can kind of treat himself. He was able to treat his foot after he got shot. Um, and I feel like, I mean, I don't know how you would fix a broken bone without any kind of medical help. I don't know how you would go about that, but like I just don't see him going into a hospital and just being like, "Hey, I got a broken arm here." So he definitely
Come
either
on.
like finds help elsewhere or gets it himself or something like that. Um, and then yeah, I just think he just continues doing what he's been doing, whether it's a hired job or just something he is doing. I just feel like at the end of the day, he genuinely found the one thing that he enjoys doing, which is ending people's lives and being in control of everyone's fate, or you know, just threatening people with this whole chance thing. And I just think those are the few things that really like that he genuinely enjoys, is just fucking with other people's lives,
Fuck it.
fucking them up.
Yeah, I agree. Um, I think he limped away, and then he probably either cleaned himself up first, or like snuck into like let's say a motel room or something, like just shot the lock open, and then cleaned himself up. I think he's the type of person to set the bone himself,
Oh god.
whether that means more pain. I don't think he really cares, but he probably corrected it himself, and then he just kept on going. He probably found another job of maybe tracking someone down, killing them, or whatever. But I think he just kept on going.
Yeah.
For sure.
Like for sure, Stacy.
For real.
Good for you, boo.
Number
Well,
6. Do you?
sticks.
Yeah. Thank you for the confirmation, GD. Number 6. Do you think Sugar really had principles that he followed?
He probably had some kind of guideline that he followed, like the coin or his word of this is I said it, so I'm gonna do it. But I don't really think he had much more than that to him.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. That's all I got.
You don't got
I
much more to that.
I ain't got much more than that either.
So Gigi's answer summed up. Meh?
For me, I think his only principle was that he abided by chance, and it's like it not only, like we said, absolves him of having a conscience, but his principle underneath that of instantly killing people who don't engage in the game is also kind of interesting because, like I've mentioned him so many times in this already, he is death. And
Wait, what?
death abides by chance. And if someone doesn't want to play the game, I think it's interesting because he's like, well, you don't get to cheat the game. Like you play or you die.
You play
Like
now.
you get one chance to play, and if you try to cheat the game or you try to not play the game, you're gonna die anyways.
Right.
So I think his principles only lie in his reliance on chance. I don't think he really cares for or, you know, even thinks about having other ones.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if there's like a distinct principle that he follows, like actually putting it into a sentence, but I think there is that chance thing that Hannah mentioned, and I also feel like he respects a job and wants a job to get done. I think if he had any ounce of passion it would be for killing and then for the job that involves that person being dead. Um, so I think he just wants these jobs to get done as clean and quickly as possible, and he won't stop until it's done. Um,
Simple.
but I don't know if there's any set principles. I just think he gets off on killing, like we've already mentioned before.
I think he just gets off.
Yeah, and then something that kind of got stuck in my head is when Woody Harrelson's character Carson Wells is talking with Llewellyn, and he was saying, kind of giving a little bit more information to Llewellyn about Anton, and he was just telling him like, oh, this guy, he's gonna kill you no matter what because you've caused so much of an inconvenience for him
Yeah.
that he's hell bent on killing you no matter what.
Yeah.
So he's not going to stop. So good luck. but but yeah, I think if there's any kind of principle, like I feel like it would be this, if you're an inconvenience to me, you're dead. And I feel like that's what Anton kind of like. That's what, maybe not his main principle, but like that's one of the ones that I could pick up on. It's like anyone that kind of got in his way was pretty much going to be a dead man. Um, so yeah,
Sub principal.
sub principle, yeah, side quest.
I put yes and no. He follows.
You can't answer both. What are you
I
doing?
know.
He follows through with what he says, or at least tries to. On the phone with Llewellyn, he doesn't say, "Give me the money and I'll let you go." He says he's going to go after Carla Jean unless he gets the money. So it's already too late for Llewellyn to live through this. But when he's talking to Carson, he says, if the rule you follow brought you to this, as in, like, look at your situation, you're about to die, then what use is the rule? So, I think this is a guy who he would abandon his principles the second they inconvenience him, like the second they don't work for him anymore. So
Yeah,
I think he likes to pretend he has principles, but not really. Because if you're going to abandon your principles when, like, maybe they just didn't work out the first time or something, then are they really principles that you live by? Or even just think of? So, um, I think he probably has some guidelines that he's used probably his entire life that have helped him out, but I think he would drop them at the um, what's an expression? At the drop of a hat, if he needed
drop of a
to.
hat, bat of an eye.
Maybe that
Yeah,
goes into
at the shake of a lamb's tail.
maybe he's not or like maybe he's against preconceptions. Like
Maybe.
maybe he's just about adaptability
He has
and like you said
standards.
would drop his principles and probably adapt new ones depending on what happened.
Hmm.
But maybe he's just against people's preconceptions because, and I think we'll get into it with Belle, but like there's an old world clearly, and there's the new world and the ever
Right.
changing world. So
Yeah.
preconceptions can just go out the door.
Death evolving.
Okay, last question.
Okay.
What do you make of Ed Tom Bell's dreams?
Crazy folk.
I found them boring. Just kidding. I did watch it again because like I mentioned, when you started talking about him, I was like drifting away. So I watched the end again.
I was
Um,
falling asleep.
um, um, yeah, he talks about two dreams. One where his father, or the one he doesn't really remember, but um, his father gave him cash and he loses it. And then the second one is he meets his father like in the old times, and like he says something about his dad going ahead and building a fire. So I put that like he's meeting his dad. We're kind of giving the fact of like following in his dad's footsteps, um, and that this is kind of what he could see or like be looking forward to is death, which is the next milestone in most people's lives, because he retired. So
Yeah.
yeah, I put that death is probably his next um, step in life, and he can kind of see that, or he's understanding that.
Interesting.
Ha.
I'm gonna read what I wrote. Belle's dreams to me have everything to do with the title of this movie. The world is no longer a country for old men. Belle longs for the control he once had in the days of old when things worked the way they should in this given livelihood. However, since the world is ever changing and Belle fears adapting to the uncomfortable nature of change, he has left the old man. This is why he quits. This is why he feels outmatched. His fear holds him back from adapting to the world and further isolates him in uncertainty. His dreams represent his longing for the old world, and when he says, "Then I woke up," it means he woke up to this world and the many changes it continues to implement.
Huh.
Yes.
In conclusion,
I said.
um, yeah, for me, um, I had to watch it a few times too because I was trying to really pick up on what it was. Because when I looked at the questions before the end of the movie. Um, Shame on me, but
Yeah.
but I saw that there was this last question where it was talking about his dreams, and I'm like, wait, what? There's no dreams happening. What are you talking about? And then it was like the very end of the movie, and I was like, oh shit, I missed it, and I went back and watched it again because I thought it was gonna be like a visual, like he was gonna have a dream that we were watching, but no. Anyway, so
Not that kind
the
of movie.
what I got out of it is, his dead father is telling his son, telling him that he's going to keep this light on for him when he passes. And to me, it kind of felt like his father was going to be waiting for him in the afterlife or whatever Bell believes in. Um, as he's explaining the dream to his wife, he says, "And in the dream, I knew that he was going on ahead." So I feel like even in his dream, he subconsciously knew that his dad was dead, but he was like trying to lead his son out of this cold, dark world that was in his dream to the light. Because he did say in the dream it was somewhere out in the mountains or something like that, and then he was saying that it was cold and dark. So I think he was trying to, or I think what he meant was that this world that he lives in now, to him, it feels like it's cold and dark, and it's a different world than what he knows. And the light is supposed to represent, or the fire is supposed to represent, not exactly his father, but just the world that he's familiar with. And he'll get back to that world after he passes, maybe. That's pretty much what I took away from his dream.
Okay, and to round it off, um, I said the first dream I don't think was about money. Both his dad and grandpa that he says in the movie were both sheriffs. Um,
Mm-hmm.
in the dream, he says he was supposed to meet his dad because his dad had some money for him, but he thinks he lost it. I think the money was symbolizing like the role of sheriff.
Oh.
Um, he was supposed to kind of follow in his dad's footsteps, and I'm gonna go on a limb and say he probably wanted to be a sheriff since he was a kid, since his dad was a sheriff and his grandpa was a sheriff. So it's sort of like okay, well, I guess I'm gonna be a sheriff now.
Mm.
Yeah.
But he lost it. He retired, right before that. Um, okay, and then the second one I think is about death. His dad rides on ahead holding a horn of fire, and his dad is sort of like waiting for him in the afterlife. But Ed Tom, he didn't have God come into his life, which he thought he would. So it wasn't represented as like a heaven or hell type of dream, but in the afterlife that maybe he envisions it as. And kind of going back to my first question, I said Ed Tom Bell represents life. He chose to retire. He wasn't sure what he was going up against. He wasn't sure if he can handle it. This guy wanted to live his life, and I think in the dream, his dad went on ahead, even though this is all, subconsciously him. He chose to stay behind instead of pursuing his dad. So I think it's sort of symbolizing him choosing life over maybe potentially losing that life.
Hmm.
Okay, so that rounds up our main questions.
Good
Let's
job,
go on
guys.
to what other people thought of it. Those buttholes.
Oh, okay.
Uh, this got a 93% on the tomato meter
Okay.
and an 86% from the audience. Do you agree or disagree with those scores?
Uh, I wouldn't give it an 86, but I don't know. Like, this isn't my type of movie to watch,
Yeah.
so I don't really know how to like do a score. But I'd probably say like like 89.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it was interesting. Definitely not like a boring movie. It kept you guessing like what's gonna happen, how they gonna is he gonna get away, like yeah, that kind of thing. So
Yeah.
yeah, it was entertaining.
Alrighty. I would give it a 93 to a 95%. Not sure where yet, but um, I remember when we watched it together and we finished the movie, I sat there and I told Trevor and Gigi, I was like, I am super unsatisfied with this. I don't know why. I feel like I have a pretty good understanding of, you know, what's going on in most stories. And for some reason, I could not figure out why I was so unsatisfied. But then I watched it a second time, and I kind of remembered this TED Talk that I had watched back in college, and I actually looked it up again yesterday to make sure I got the right. But it's a TED Talk by a director of quite a few Pixar movies, Andrew Stanton, and he talks about how this movie kind of works. And it's not that he's talking specifically about this movie. It's he's talking about there's like certain clues that make good storytelling, and he talks about this thing he calls the unifying principle of 2 plus 2. And so basically, a story works as 2 plus 2 equals 4. The 2 and the 2 are the elements of the story. The 4 is your obvious conclusion of the story. And the equal sign is how you get to the conclusion, whether it's visually shown to you, whether it's, exposition, dialogue, whatever it is. That's how you get there. And when I first watched this movie, I had 2 plus 2, but I felt like at the end I got 5 instead of 4. And
Right.
I was like, well, how did I get 5? I don't understand. It took me changing my perspective of who the main character was to be able to understand what the movie's motives were. Um, which I kind of mentioned when we were talking through the questions. But I don't believe Anton and Moss are actually characters. Moss is literally like a fake protagonist. And in the reason I thought I understood it the first time I watched it was because he was a protagonist and we had Anton as an antagonist, and we get to a point in the movie where we're kind of promised a showdown. But instead of that, we get it basically flipped on our backs, and the main character is not only killed before the third act, but he's killed off screen and he's killed not by the antagonist. And so when I shifted my perspective to thinking that Belle is the main character, I understood all of that. Because Belle is the only character in the movie that changes or achieves something, and the other two do not. They basically go through their lives within this movie as forces. They do what they do, but they don't achieve anything, and they don't accomplish anything, they don't learn anything, they're just there to be forces. And it's up to Belle, being the only character that does anything, uh, to adapt to those forces, and that's what makes him the main character. So as soon as I understood that, I understood that, like, oh, instead of 2 plus 2 equal 4, I have to change it to 3 plus 2 equals 5 because it was a shift in perspective.
Hmm.
So yeah, I really enjoyed this movie on the second watch.
That's
I
good.
got it.
Yeah.
um, so overall, I agree with the scores. I don't actually. Well, the audience score it does seem a little low to me. I feel like personally, whether this is the kind of movie that you enjoy or watch or not, um, I I feel like just someone from the outside looking in, like this movie deserves at least like a 90 because I feel like it is a really well put together film, and I think these characters, they're well thought out. Um, I don't have much of an analytical standpoint as Hannah,
Sorry.
so it's all right. No, it's all right.
That is fine.
I'm
um,
so sorry.
but yeah, I definitely agree with like the audio, or I'm sorry, the critic score. I think a 93 is a good score, and I think it's what the movie deserves.
And I agree with Kyle. Um, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it on my first time through. I loved the fact that Anton got away, not because like I was rooting for him, but I'm like, that's life. Like shit happens, deal with it. Like
Yeah,
you're not always gonna get what you want. And I appreciated that, which I think I've said that for like definitely the last movie we watched. But I think I said that before. Like I appreciate the realism when they actually make a movie realistic.
yeah.
Like when shit just goes sideways just because.
Yeah.
So, I agree with the 93%. Moving on, let's do favorite scenes. Gigi?
Okay. So I have two. The first one was when Boss used, well, he was like, he got shot and he was trying to figure out how to get over the border. And he bought that jacket from that guy. And he used the jacket to kind of cover up his wounds, and then he held the beer up as he was crossing the border. I thought that was pretty clever. And then the other one is where, is it Carrie? Yeah, no, Carla?
Carla?
Carla
Carla
Jean?
Jean confronts Oh my god.
Anton?
Anton. Why I was like sugar.
Because that's
um,
what Llewellyn says. He's like,
Yeah.
yeah,
sugar?
sugar. Yeah, I'm like sugar. That's his name now. No, but I really liked the scene where he was like, call it, and she was like, no, like, nah,
Nah,
you're
bruh.
not gonna do that with me, bro. So yeah, I like those those two scenes.
I also have two scenes. The first one, like Gigi mentioned, is the standoff between Carla Jean and Anton. I think that's a really well crafted scene, and I really like that. He says to her, "Call it," and she says, "The coin doesn't have a say."
Mm-hmm.
I think that's just such an interesting line, and the fact that he like sort of acknowledges it, but is like, "Well, the coin and I got here the same way." I just think that's a really cool scene. Um, and then the other one I really like is Carla Jean's mom when she was
Yeah.
forced to move to El Paso, and she's like, you know how many people I know in El Paso? This many. Just the fact that she's always talking about her cancer and stuff.
I got the
I
cancer.
got the cancers.
Yeah.
I love that character. She's funny.
um, so I really liked the more intense like action moments in this film. I thought they were really like put together well and like unpredictable because especially my favorite is when uh, when Llewellyn is in the I think it's the second motel he goes to, and then he discovers that there's a tracking device inside the uh, the suitcase with all the money, or the bag, and then it's obviously too late because Anton's already there. I just like that whole sequence because it was really intense, and I wasn't really sure what was going to happen. Because at that point in the movie, it was only like maybe halfway through, and I was kind of thinking like, oh, I think this is where Llewellyn's gonna die, because I didn't really I wasn't really sure if he was the main character or not throughout the movie. Um, because I was thinking that the sheriff was gonna have more screen time by that point, but then I was thinking like, oh well, Llewellyn will probably die here, and then it'll switch over to the sheriff, but he didn't, and I was actually surprised. But that whole sequence of them with the shootout, and then him getting in that truck with that random dude, and then that guy just dies like instantly, and then uh, and then Llewellyn just like takes over the car, but like is kind of just blindly driving. And then I thought it was really clever when I'm pretty sure he purposely crashed the truck into that other car to to make it seem like he crashed, so that Anton would go up to the car instead of like pursuing him or something.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought it was pretty clever that he crashed the truck and then got out and hid behind another car and then was able to actually get a shot on Anton, to kind of even the score. So I just thought that whole sequence was really cool. That was like my favorite part. Um, and then the other part was towards the beginning when Llewellyn goes back to the drug meetup spot in the desert, and then like immediately just shit just falls apart like immediately, because as soon as he gets down to the site, there's another pickup truck behind him where his truck is, and he sees that they slash his tires, and then there's like this quick like decision making where he's like, like he's obviously thinking about it. He's like, do I run or hide? And then I'm thinking it too. I'm like, is he gonna run? Is he gonna hide? Is he gonna run? and then and then he ends up running, and I just like that whole sequence where he's just running away, and that was another moment where I thought, oh yeah, he's just gonna die, but he didn't. And I think this is just another example of him just kind of representing like what Hannah said back at the beginning, where she was talking about how Llewellyn actually represents life. I think both of those scenes kind of help her case there, because he's life running away from death. Because in both of those moments, like he's on the verge of, he's basically screwed, but somehow he makes it out of both of those. Um, and I just thought both of those scenes were really exciting. So those are my two favorite moments.
Life finds a way.
I also have two. My first one is Kyle's first one. Um, that scene where he's just sitting on the bed in the dark, and by he I mean Llewellyn. He's just waiting for Anton to show up, and there's that shadow in front of the door, walks by, and then he comes back, and then he gets that surprise door jam straight to the
Oh
chest or
yeah.
the
Oh yeah.
side.
Yeah.
Like he obviously didn't plan that out really well, but um, definitely unexpected. And then just that intense, like, okay, who's gonna kill who
Hmm.
in this scene? But like neither one is successful. And then my second, just at the very end, um, Anton, he's just sitting on the curb, and the kid's on the bike right up to him. He's like, "Mister, you okay?" And then he's just like, "I'm just gonna sit here for a minute." And then the kid on the right
Yeah.
is like, "I can see your bone."
He says it
And
twice.
then I think he gave him like $100 bill for his shirt
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
use as a sling. And then the other kid's like, "You know you're sharing that with me, right?" It's like, "You still got your shirt."
Yeah.
Oh, you know what's interesting about the bone? Uh, like I might be reading into it really hard, but like, uh, because he's Death, and Death is like a, you know, the Grim Reaper, who's basically all bones. Like maybe that's why we see his bone at the end.
No, they
I
shall
don't know.
never us this out, Hannah.
It's kind of, I mean, it's kind of cool symbolism if that's what it is, because like, you know, the Grim Reaper is just a bunch of bones. You
Yeah.
don't care if you got in an accident.
Well, let me get the Coen brothers on here, and then we'll ask
Yes.
them ourselves.
Yep.
Excuse
Yep, we're
me,
live.
Mr. and Mr. Cohen.
Yeah.
Yep, you're on the air.
It's
Okay,
just an
last
interesting choice.
Yeah, I
yeah,
could see that.
last one. What would you change?
Anton's hair. It was killing me.
Is that really your answer?
Yeah, I mean, this isn't my type of movie, so I don't really know what I would change, more or less. But like, his hair was killing me. Like, you're like 45 with like a weird bowl cut, so he probably cuts it himself.
Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't like his hair.
Can't trust anyone to cut his hair.
Probably not. Yeah, that's my answer.
All right.
I couldn't think of anything that I really wanted to change about the movie, especially after I watched it the second time. I
Wait
just
till the third
really
time.
enjoyed what I think the Coen brothers were trying to do, and it's like I said, one of the themes is life's uncertainty, and I think it applies to what they were trying to do with the story. They gave you constantly like elements of kind of like what Kyle was saying, like elements of where you think you know what's going to happen, and then it doesn't, and you're like, wait, I have a preconceived notion about what this is supposed to be like, or what stories are supposed to be like, and that kind of goes along the same lines of how Belle thinks the world should work, or how it did work in the days of old. Um, and they were just like, nah, this is life. Life doesn't work that way, and neither does this movie, and we're going to constantly throw that in your face. So I appreciated what it did.
Um, the one thing I would change is there were a lot of um, things that I felt like I missed watching this movie. So I had to rewind and be like, oh, did that just happen? And the one that really caught me off guard was actually like I knew it was coming after the conversation happened between the cartel dude and Carla Jean's mom. So I knew that was coming, but I didn't expect it to just happen off screen. So I think one thing I would change is I this sounds weird, but I would like to see him die. Just because like I don't know, like it happened off screen and I felt kind of unsatisfied. Like we spent so much time with this character, and maybe he's not meant to be the main character of the movie, but I still felt like, you know, I was
Like you were
owed.
cheated.
See him die.
Nah, okay, yeah, that came out
Well,
wrong, but
I raised you a question though about that. Was it more intriguing that you had to do the work to figure out how he got killed and why he got killed? Or, was it, like you said, you would have rather just seen it?
well, I know that in like movies, there's like this, there's this thing where it's like show not tell, I think is what people say. Um, but in this case, it was more tell not show, and sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. For me, it's not that it didn't work. It's just I don't know. Sometimes I'm curious about how things ended up a certain way, and when I saw that, like him just lying there dead, I was like, oh, well, he's dead. That's it. And then like it just happened so quickly. Like I don't know. Like it was a sequence that lasted like a minute, if that, and like it was just done. And it's just like this character that we were kind of following for a good chunk of the movie, and suddenly, oh, yeah, he's dead. And
Well,
that was it for me. I don't know. Like
it
it
kind
wasn't
of
a terrible
circles.
thing.
It circles back to the beginning, where he stumbles upon the ring of the drug deal gone wrong. Like we
Hmm.
don't see that happening because we weren't meant to see it. But he asks the person who was in the truck, like, "Where's the last one? Where's the last hombre?"
Yeah.
So that scene, it opens up with you see this truck pulling out of the parking lot, and like you're from the perspective of Ed Tom Bell, so you can kind of go like, okay, those are the last ones.
Gotcha.
So you can kind of just infer from that, like, shit just happened.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't like confused. I was just saying
Yeah.
like for my own personal satisfaction, like I would have liked to see that is all I'm saying. Like
To
I don't
Trevor,
have a problem with it, but I don't know.
to Trevor's point, though, too, I think it's a smart move by the Coen brothers because normally in a movie we are spoon-fed how everything is happening, like by exposition, by visuals, whatever. Instead, they're literally being catering to a smarter audience because, as human beings, we're naturally inclined to deduce and to figure stuff out
Hmm.
because that's what we do in real life and that's what we like to do because we're smart and we're above the animals.
So
But
did
it's them catering to that and being like, hey, we don't have to show you what happened. We're just going to show you the conclusion and you figure out what happened.
Or
Because
maybe
that's the lack of info that you're getting is what keeps it intriguing to you.
or maybe they just ran out of budget and they couldn't film that scene.
they're
Wow,
like,
I'm
this
just
is
kidding.
the
I
end
did
of
some
the
No, I'm
good
kidding.
2 hour mark.
I'm
I
sorry.
was just thinking, we don't find out why Anton's in jail. We just know that the deputy was talking to the sheriff in the beginning, right?
Right, and from that we can deduce, hey, Anton's a bad dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't need the exposition that says
Like
this
a
is
bad
why
dude.
Anton's in jail.
Yeah. I don't know. You guys were talking. Trevor's like in the beginning, and like that's the first scene in the beginning is when he's in jail, and I was like, that beginning, and then he picked something else, and I was like stuck on that scene.
No, they're
Mhm.
just they're respecting you as a human being and being like, okay, we don't need to spoon feed you this. We'll just give you what we think you need to see, and you
Well,
can
way to
deduce everything else.
assume that I can feed myself.
No, I get why it was filmed that way. I don't know. There was something about it that was like you know, it was it,
Kinda
it was a
like,
little,
"Aw."
yeah, I was like, oh, he's dead. But
Oh
I
man!
I get why, and I get what happened.
But this
I
was
like
his
to be spoon
opinion.
fed.
But I like spoons.
Yeah.
I'm right there with you, Kyle. Sometimes.
Okay, and thing I would change, give Grandma more screen time.
Oh
Oh
Heck
She
god.
was
jeez.
amazing.
yes, I agree with that.
No.
Nah. I'm
Grandma
good.
needs more
No,
screen time.
but she has the cancer.
Then she needs to talk with what's her face's mom from the room.
Oh, I don't remember her name. I know what you're
I
talking
don't
about though.
remember her
Yeah,
name.
just
Yeah, Lisa's
Well,
mom.
it's official. I have breast
Yeah,
cancer.
breast cancer. Yep.
They would get
Now
along.
that's a movie I want to see.
Yeah.
The two grandmas.
Two grandmas.
well, I have breast cancer. I also have the cancer.
The movie title is Two Cancer for You.
2 + 2 = cancer.
Yeah.
Oh
Fast and Furious Cancer Drift.
Jesus.
Okay, that is the movie. Hope you guys, first of all, if you haven't watched it, go ahead and watch it.
And hate yourself.
I think that goes for all the movies we've discussed. If you haven't
Alright.
watched them, go watch it, you
Why are you
dummy.
here?
Yeah,
Seriously.
Why are you having it spoiled for yourself?
but Gigi, you want to give a little tease to the next one?
A little tease is just gonna say the name. It's not tease.
Oh, it's a tease,
Well,
all
it's a
right.
tease.
Got that comb. Full teeth.
The movie we are going to watch, that's my pick. A pick that I made by myself.
Oh boy.
No spoons were involved.
What the hell are you doing?
Is 8th grade.
All right. Okay.
Okay.
Cool.
So if
Yeah.
you want to hear about it,
Go back to 8th grade.
the next podcast.
Watch it first, then listen.
Yeah.
Well, I should probably say it's 8th grade, directed by Bo Burnham. It is an indie film, so
And it's would you classify as a drama?
drama
It's a doozy.
comedy, maybe.
Dramatic.
A dramedy?
That will be our next one. So
See?
Stay tuned, jerks.
Or be untuned. I don't care.
Yeah, whatever. It's up to you guys.
Then they fall flat.
You know, free
Yeah.
will and everything. Bye.
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 Bye.